Good morning. Another sleepless night. As I've told people, I have health problems and have insomniac nights, and sometimes it seems like insomniac days when they carry over that long. Didn't sleep a wink. Matthew 5. It's fun. Fun, fun, fun. When Jesus saw the crowds, let's back up. The news about him. Jesus was going throughout all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel, or good news, since gospel isn't very, modern term or understood outside of religious context. Good news is not something that they put on the networks. It just doesn't apply. It's not what life's about, right? So they tell us. Proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom and healing every kind of disease. Gospel of the kingdom, good news of the kingdom. And healing every kind of disease and every kind of sickness. Now, whoa. 4:17. From that time, Jesus began to preach and say, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." Down to 23. Gospel of the kingdom. It's not like he hadn't said this before, but what happens? And healing every kind of disease, that's what happens. And every kind of sickness among the people. What happened? Watch it, next verse. The news about him, chapter 4. The news about him, 24, spread throughout all Syria, and they brought all Syria. Oh. Not those people, not the non-Christians. It was the Christians that followed him, or the Jews that followed him, right? And they brought to him all who were ill. Syria. That's about the region he was in. Northern Israel. That area. Those suffering with various diseases, healing every kind of disease and every kind of sickness among the people. Okay, so what are they getting here? They're getting healing from their disease. They found a doctor. There is a balm in Gilead. And they brought to him all who were ill, those suffering from various diseases and pains. And this is the news about him spread. Various diseases and pains, demoniacs, epileptics. I just read this before. Paralytics, and he healed them. Large crowds. Well, the news about him spread throughout all Syria. They brought to him all who were ill, blah, blah. Large crowds, verse 25 of chapter 4, followed him from Galilee and followed him from Galilee and Decapolis and Jerusalem and Judea and beyond the Jordan. Large crowds. You see what happened there? You know what they want. They want for them. Large crowds. So he gathered the crowds. How? People wonder. It's by healing them. And it wasn't anything that they weren't ready to believe. They saw it, the news spread, they checked it out, they saw it worked, they did it. Just like you will see something work for somebody else. Your testimonials, you check it out, like a testimony from a personal person you know, not TV or something. And oh, this is really, really great. All right, I'll try it out. Same way the gospel is spread today. That whole group that says you should come and see. Like I believe it was Andrew said to Nathaniel, come and see. Nazareth, can anything good come from there? Come and see. Am I credible enough to you? Was what, I believe it was Andrew was saying. Am I credible enough to you? All right, you say so, Andrew. Maybe you're right. Or at least it's interesting. It's worth a look. Large crowds followed him from Galilee and Decapolis. In Greek, there's no the, and Decapolis, which was the 10 cities, which was not part of Israel. Foreigners right from the beginning. And Jerusalem, which we won't accept. You got a suit and tie and all that stuff, and you got to do that. And Jerusalem and Judea, and you can't sleep with your girlfriend or boyfriend and blah, blah, blah. You can't come to Jesus and, oh yeah. And beyond the Jordan. So what I want to note from last time, from chapter 4, says, follow me, I'll make you fishers of men, blah, blah, blah. Chapter 4. Jesus was going throughout all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the good news. It says gospel there, look up 23, verse 23. Or good news, preaching the good news or gospel of all of the kingdom and healing every kind of disease and every kind of sickness among the people. News about him spread. Large crowds. That really boomed out when he was doing the healing. And I think he would say, that's not really why I came, which he expresses later on. That's not why I came. But it was why people were interested in him. Even Herod was interested in him. They wanted to see him do some trick. He wanted to see him do some trick. But the gospel, teaching in their synagogues and proclaiming the gospel. What is the gospel, people? All you Christian fanatics. Or, those that fit in the whatever category. What is the gospel? I was told, death, resurrection, Jesus Christ. See a problem there? Paul said it was a death and resurrection. Other people put burial in there, I think maybe from another verse they found in the Bible. Burial, death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Okay. See a problem there? Was Jesus preaching about his death? No. Was he preaching about his burial? No. Was he preaching about his resurrection? No. You got a problem, see? You got a problem. If you're preaching the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ as the gospel, Paul used it in shorthand. He'd say, okay, this is my gospel. I believe that one was to Timothy. The death and resurrection. Jesus died and was buried and was resurrected on the first, on the what was that? Is that Galatians or was that Timothy? One of the Timothys. Died and was resurrected on the third day, and I think it was maybe one of the Timothys, and was seen by, the Mary, and was seen by the women, and seen Mary, and it was seen by the 12, or the 11, and it was, or the 12, or however you want to look at that. Matthias was included as the 12 in Acts, or one of the 12 in Acts after Judas, and was preacher all the world, according to my gospel. Paul says, my gospel. I preach the gospel. And that's what he said. So here's a question. Do you know when you preach the gospel what you're doing? What was Jesus preaching? Paul wrote it in shorthand, the death, burial, or the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ on the third day. Death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. My gospel, he said. You see, Paul wrote that in shorthand. If you preach that, there'd be a problem because people wouldn't understand what he was saying. He said, let me explain. He said, pray that I will explain it to one of the churches. Pray that I will preach it and make it plain as I should. So you may be missing out part of your message if that's your gospel stuff, you know. Your gospel, you know, you take this book, which really isn't the basis for Christianity anyway. It's a recording of Christianity. Very reliable, perfectly reliable, but it's not the basis for Christianity. Jesus Christ is.